All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's hour number 2, and it's Friday. Steve Malzberg show, just a minute or so. David Clarke, Sheriff in Milwaukee County, will join us. But I want to talk about something. Bernie Sanders in the news again today. No, he has no more rape fantasies as far as I know. But he does want to have all employers who have at least who have 15 or more employees give those employees 10 days paid vacation, and this would be mandatory. Ladies and gentlemen, if you own a shop or something, small business, whatever, and you have 15, 16 employees, you're going to have the government come in and say that you have to give these people now paid time off for 10 days, or you're breaking the law? What on earth is going on here? Small businesses are overregulated enough. People can't find jobs as it is. You know what? Here's the deal. Let small businesses and every other company compete. Let them say, hey, we want the best workers, so we're going to give 10 days vacation, or we're going to give 8 days vacation. Or what? You mean you won't come to my place? I'll give you 2 weeks vacation. That's how it should work, not the government mandating and really deterring people from opening a business. I mean, it's bad enough with the Obamacare mandate, and now you want the vacation mandate and this mandate and that mandate. You can't, with a sane mind, say, you know what, I think I want to start a small business. Why would you? So, you know, Bernie Sanders, take your socialism and go somewhere else with it, for crying out loud. Oh, don't believe me, the Democrat Party loves this. They love this. Why stop at 10 days? You know, let hamburger workers make $15 an hour, and now let them get 10 days paid vacation. Are you kidding? I worked at McDonald's when the minimum wage was $3 an hour. Where are we headed? All right, before we go to David Clarke, let's watch this.
Our policies, our training, our practice do not support his actions. He came into the call out of control, and as the video shows, was out of control during the incident. I had 12 officers on the scene, and 11 of them performed according to their training. They did an excellent job.
All right, joining us now, David Clarke, Sheriff of Milwaukee County, and of course you could check him out at thepeoplessheriff.com. Sheriff, great to talk to you again. Your take on the resignation of that police officer?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. There's a number of moving parts here. I know we don't have a lot of time, but first of all, as for the race issue, there was no racial component to this thing here, and all the race hustlers and race demagogues can shut their traps and go home. This has turned into a Racism Across America tour. I've renamed this after Ferguson, coming to a city near you. It just happens to be McKinney, Texas, in the crosshairs right now. I think that the chief overreacted initially in suspending that officer. Usually that's reserved for when officers involved in a great bodily harm or a death situation where they use deadly force. We'll put them on administratively. We don't suspend them. But if every time an officer uses force, a minimal amount of force, we're going to suspend them, I think that that's a slippery slope. Now, as for the behavior, or the actions, I should say, of the officer, we in law enforcement, and you know that I will defend the American law enforcement officer to the wall.
Absolutely.
When we're correct, and I've said that. But we have to be honest sometimes and self-correct, and that officer lost his cool from the minute he got out of that car. There's no doubt about that. And I hear some of my retired colleagues trying to justify some of the things that he had done, and you just can't do it sometimes. But I don't think that, I think the chief overreacted initially. Now he has since resigned. It's a decision he gets to make. You know, look, one of the things that we train our officers to do is to remain calm in chaotic situations. That was a chaotic situation. It wasn't a dangerous situation. It was a rowdy, you know, kids behaving badly, young people behaving badly, pool party. Yeah, there was disorder and chaos. But you get out, you try to find an adult and say, who's in charge of this pool party here? And you say, hey, the thing is shut down, and you start moving the kids out of there. Those that don't want to go, you know, that want to do some of the things that we saw them do, well, okay, then they have to go to jail. But, you know, it's just an ugly moment. It was an unfortunate thing at the time. But everybody's chiming in on this in terms of, you know, when I say everybody, the race hustlers are in on it, and people asking for criminal charges. There's nothing criminal. that rose to a criminal level, I should say, that officer did.
Okay, let me ask you this. We heard from his attorney, the officer's attorney, that two calls before this call. One, he was at a suicide at another pool where the man killed himself, and a black man, in front of his family, and he helped console the family. The next one, he helped talk, according to her, another suicide attempt off of top of a home. Some girl was going to jump, and he helped talk her down. He wasn't even going to answer this call, according to the attorney, but then when he heard it was getting out of hand and it was escalating, he felt it was his duty. Does that, when you as a professional judge him, if all that is true, does that influence your judgment on what he did at that pool party that we all saw?
Well, without a doubt, because these things don't happen in a vacuum, and that's the disadvantage that we don't get, and I made it clear. I don't know all the facts here. I didn't see everything. I saw some snippets of video, and I made it clear, and as I've been talking about this thing, I don't know what happened before, and I don't know what happened after that thing, and those things are part of the story. So what I think that speaks to, because this isn't the worst officer in the world. It just is not. He lost his head, okay. I think you can do some retraining. I think you can do some re-education and maybe some sort of discipline and let the officer resume his career and move on, but the chief overreacted. But what I think that speaks to, in terms of what he just came from his prior assignments, is a staffing issue. Law enforcement agencies all across the country are working short-staffed. They're not getting the resources we used to get because of the declines in crime. And so city managers, mayors, city councils, county boards are cutting back funding, which means officers are just going from assignment to assignment to assignment. I know that's happening here in Milwaukee. I'm 150 deputies down myself. The city of Milwaukee's down 300. They have 300 vacancies.
Wow. That
the city won't fill. And so, yeah, these officers are just pounding. We're pounding these people into the pavement. And that issue didn't come up. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because this is also a funding allocation issue that will not be addressed. But I'm going to continue to send that message that we're asking too much of these officers right now, and they're human beings. They will make mistakes, and they're prone to make more mistakes when they are under stress. So if we really care about these law enforcement officers, when I say we, I'm talking about these city councils and these town boards, these funding sources, well, they better make sure that we are giving them the right amount of resources so they don't have to be put in these untenable situations like that, and then you look what happens.
All right, one more for you. The judge in Cleveland, a judge in Cleveland, because of a citizen filed a case under some remote law on the Tamir Rice case in Cleveland. The judge said that there's probable cause for criminal charges be brought against both officers involved in that shooting of that 12-year-old boy. What's your take on that incident? And do you think, I mean, it's before a grand jury, and that's what will ultimately decide whether or not there are charges. But what's from the video you saw, knowing what you know, what the cops were responding to, what they were told, and blah blah blah, and he had a gun out, and there was no red tip on it, etc. What's your take on that incident?
I want to be very careful with this, and I'm dissecting it as that decision was made. If it's before the grand jury, I think the judge should have kept his powder dry. He should have just said, I'm going to rule on this after the grand jury is done. He jumped the gun a little bit, and that's another one of those tragic situations. That's all this is. Cops didn't go in there looking to shoot and kill a 12-year-old kid. But if we're going to ask law enforcement officers to make sure that what they're looking at is a gun, and make sure it's loaded, and make sure it's real.
Right, you can't do that.
I mean, my gosh.
Yeah, you can't do that. There's a responsibility upon the person who has the gun, but no matter how old they are. Anyway, it is a tragic situation. David, Clarke, thank you so much. Always great to talk to you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, folks, we are coming back with the president of the Acton Institute, Reverend Robert Sirico. But first, we want to hear from you. We want your feedback. Let us know what you think of today's show and possibly any of the discussions we just had, maybe the one I just had with the sheriff. Log on to newsmaxtv.com/comments. newsmaxtv.com/comments and weigh in. We'd love to hear from you, and you can have your voice heard. We're coming right back.